Am I the a-hole for telling my parents that their transportation wasn't my problem after they gave my car to my brother? Okay, that title is a little clickbaity. It was their car that I have maintained and paid the registration and insurance on for years. They have every right to give it away. My mom doesn't drive, and my dad had his license taken away after a DUI. I live a couple of blocks away from them and work from home. I don't really need a car except for getting groceries and running my folks around. My dad's car was a Jeep Grand Cherokee that was only 3 years old when he lost his license. It was fully paid off, so I just took over paying for insurance and registration. It was nice to have a car for errands and for running errands for my folks. And it was a much nicer car than I would have gotten for myself. My brother was over a couple of months ago, and he was pissier than usual about me getting a free car. He was hollering about how I'm the golden child and my parents give me everything. So my dad told me to give the car back so he could give it to my brother, since it would be fair because I got to use it for free for 4 years. Like I said, it's not my car, and I really don't need one. My brother lives across town, a good 45 minutes away. I live 5 minutes away. My mom called me on Friday a couple of weeks ago to remind me that she had a hearing aid appointment. I reminded her that I no longer had a car. She ended up taking a cab because my brother was at work. My dad called me to ask me to come over and talk. So I walked my dog Bruno over to see them. My dad said that I had 4 years to save up to buy my own car and wanted to know when I was going to buy one. I told him I don't need a car. I'm happy getting Walmart to deliver my groceries because I'm not like my mom and insist on inspecting every stalk of celery before it goes in my cart. Both of us live on a good bus route that takes us downtown if we need to go to the doctor or anything like that. I said I wasn't planning on buying a car. He said he hoped that I'm not expecting him to buy me a car, just to run errands for them. I said, I do not need a car. I work from home. My clients see me in my home. My salon is on the main floor of my house, and I have a nice basement suite for me and Bruno. I order supplies that get delivered. I order groceries that get delivered. I order stuff from Amazon that gets delivered. I don't need a car or the expense of a car. I told him to get my brother to run them around since he has a car now. My dad had the decency to look embarrassed. He said that my brother took our mom for groceries once and acted like it was a huge imposition and made her cry. So they didn't want to ask him for favors. I pointed out that they could just ask for the car back, but that was also a non-starter. I said that I would not be getting a car, but if he wants, I will split the cost of a car share membership. That way, I can take a bus to the nearest car and use it for a few hours when they need a ride. He agreed, but he thinks I should pay the whole thing. I reiterated that I do not need a car, and that if he keeps it up, I won't even split the cost with him. He thinks I'm being ungrateful and childish because I had an almost new car for free for 4 years. I just roll my eyes now. Edit. I changed a word because my father didn't use it. He just implied it. Also, I stopped paying the insurance on the car, which is still registered to my dad. The registration is paid for the year already. Also, I did use the car for personal stuff sometimes, getting together with girlfriends and going on dates. I don't like men knowing where I live before I get to know them. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. You running them around and doing errands was payment for the use of the car. The fact your dad idiotically gave the car to your brother without thinking the repercussions is on him and only him. Your dad should be reminded that the only reason there was a free car available to you was because of his poor choices to drink and drive to begin with. He lost his license 4 years ago, and its return doesn't seem imminent. What did he do? Run over the Pope or something? I've never heard of a drunk losing it for that long. I will split the cost of a car share membership. No, why? This will obligate you to run errands for them again, but this time it'll be more hassle because you'd have to bus to and from the rental place, then drive to them. Your parents don't want to bother your brother who has the car and can help them out much more efficiently, but won't help them. Instead, they'd rather you jump through hoops because you're more, I don't want to say compliant, but yeah, you're more of a doormat than your jerk brother. Heck, your dad thinks you need to cover the whole rental account. That's how much he thinks you owe him, versus your brother who doesn't have to lift a finger. Look, tell your dad. He gave the car to bro. Bro can run his errands for him. You shouldn't have to come out of pocket just to be able to drive them around. If bro doesn't want to do it, then they get the car back to you. Dad pays for its insurance and maintenance, and you drive them around when you have time. I kinda like shopping with my mom. It's our time, and a moment of zen watching her grope fruits and vegetables in a slightly obscene way to pick just the right ones. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to move in with my mom so she can stay in her house until she dies? Long story short, my stepdad has ALS and doesn't have long to live, and he and my mom are relatively young. They live in a double-wide modular home on 15 acres of land. My husband and I are wannabe farmers with not much land. We have sheep, goats, pigs, bunnies, and about every kind of bird. My husband and I own our own house, and it will be paid off in 5 years. We have poured our blood, sweat, and tears into everything we have, and my husband has pounded every nail into this house and our barn. The house is beautiful on the inside and was freshly remodeled a few years ago. I'm very proud of our home. It needs some TLC on the outside, however. The other night, my stepdad said, "Would you guys consider renting out your house and moving in with your mom after I pass away so she can stay in this house? This house is too much for her to take care of and maintain on her own. Since you guys will be renting out your house, you can go back." My husband flat out refuses to rent our house out, as he flips houses for a living and knows firsthand how tenants destroy things. He doesn't want all of his hard work to get trashed like that. And dealing with tenants is not something we want to be burdened with. That would leave us with 2 properties to maintain. The stipulation with us moving in with my mom would be that I wouldn't be able to keep my dog. We would have to pay the taxes, $8,000 a year, put a new roof on it, put new siding on it, and manage the property. Right now, the house is worth $290,600. What makes it worse is that the house isn't in my mom's name. My stepsister and stepbrother are willed the house, and my stepsister's name is on the deed. So if we were to go live with my mom the minute she dies, we are screwed, and we don't want to have a trashed and destroyed house to return to. We also don't want to sell our house and have to start over. We would essentially be raising the value of my parents' house and walking away with nothing, while my step-siblings reap the benefit of it. So we told my stepdad we are willing to do it only if we can buy the house, and we will pay full market value. The house's appraisal is $290,600. My stepdad said, "You won't be able to afford this house." We said, "Yes, we can." He said, "No, you can't. I want $500,000 for it." So I told him no deal, and now he won't talk to us. Am I the a-hole? So you pay and upgrade and your mom lives in it, then his kids benefit? Nope. Tell him you weren't born yesterday. And she has to get rid of her dog too. Don't forget that. OP, they act like they're the ones doing you some sort of favor, but you don't need or want this. Just stay out of it. It is up to your mom and stepdad to sort this out. I wonder if some people confuse a prefab house that comes in 2 halves. Unless you spot the seam outside, you would never suspect it wasn't built on site. I used to see halves driving down the Long Island Expressway. This is exactly the type of house it is. Not the a-hole. Your mother's husband is okay with you losing everything when your mother dies? What a loving man. You might want to tell them they need to sell and downsize before he dies, to make sure his wife is in a situation she can manage once he is gone. Why is nobody asking mom what she wants? Seems pretty ignorant to leave her out of decisions for her future as if she's a damn child. Not the a-hole for telling stepdad to pound sand on his BS offer, but you and your stepdad both suck for how you're treating your mom. Do better. I've talked to my mom about this in length, and she is very set in staying where she is, though my husband and I offered for her to move in with us or buy a house with her together if she wanted. Taking care of her isn't the issue. Losing everything we have for my step-siblings' gain is. Of course you are doing the right thing. Your stepdad is setting you up for long-term failure at the hands of his own children. Trying to gouge you on the current value of his place is a perfect example. Do not allow yourself to be guilt-tripped. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my husband that his sister can't live with us? So this is what's happening. We live in a small 2-bedroom apartment. It's me, my husband, and our toddler. The second bedroom? That's the baby's. There's no guest room. There's no spare mattress. Heck, the couch barely fits in our living room without it feeling like an obstacle course. Then suddenly his sister calls. Says she needs a place to stay for a while. No details. Just boom, she's on her way. She's not asking. She's telling us. Apparently, she got into it with her roommate and can't deal with the drama. Her words. I told my husband straight up no. Not because I don't care. Not because I want her homeless. But we literally don't have the space. Our kid wakes up if someone breathes too loudly near his room. I'm already running on fumes from the night feedings and the 4 a.m. cries. The last thing I need is another adult here adding to the chaos. But get this. My husband says I'm being cold. That she's family. That it's just temporary. I asked how long is temporary. He shrugs. Says a few weeks, maybe a couple of months. No plan. No end date. Just vibes and guilt. I tried to be clear. I said, if she moves in, I move out. I didn't mean it as a threat. I just meant I literally won't be able to function in this house if she's here full time. I'm already stretched thin. This would break me. He looked at me like I'd just kicked his puppy. Said I was forcing him to choose. I said, no, she is. Because who invites themselves to someone else's house without even checking first? Now things are tense. He's barely talking to me. She keeps texting him saying, don't worry, I'll figure it out. But you know, that's just the guilt bait. And honestly, I feel like the bad guy. Like I'm this evil wife keeping his poor sister out on the streets or something. But also, I'm tired of always being the one who bends, who makes room, who shuts up to keep the peace. So yeah, that's the whole messy thing. Am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. She hasn't been evicted. Unless she is in actual danger, then she doesn't need the help she is asking for. That kind of help is for emergencies, not for not being able to handle the drama, not the a-hole. Yeah, she said she can't deal with her roommate drama. That is not an eviction. She has a place to live. She just doesn't want to. Husband is prioritizing his sister's childishness over his own child and his wife's sanity. Husband is the bad guy, not OP, not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. Text her and tell her you'll give her more drama than she's getting from the roommate. I just set a boundary. What she does with it is up to her. Last story. Am I the a-hole for saying my mom's husband isn't my dad and saying I never got to meet my dad? My dad died when my mom was pregnant with me, 17 female. She told me about him growing up, and we have little traditions we keep to honor him. She also gave me the name he wanted for a daughter. I always spent time with my dad's family in the summer, and they'd travel to see me or we'd travel to see them when we could. So even though I never got to meet him, I still consider him my dad, you know? When I was 13, she introduced me to James, and they got married when I was 14. To me, James is my mom's husband, but I guess he sees me as his daughter. And he's been hurt for years that I call him James, that I never gave him a dad-like nickname or title. I didn't know about it until we went on vacation last month. My mom and James met this couple, and we had dinner with their family. I was talking to their 2 kids, who were pretty close in age to me, and they asked why I called him James, and wasn't he my dad? I said he's not my dad. He's married to my mom. They asked what happened to my dad, and I told them I never got to meet my dad because he died while my mom was pregnant with me. We talked about other things. But when we got back to the resort, my mom pulled me into my room and asked me why I'd said that stuff at dinner. I had to ask her what she meant because I had no idea what was going on. She said James' face when I said he wasn't my dad, and when I told those kids I never got to meet my dad was heartbreaking. She told me he's been waiting for me to acknowledge him as the dad in my life, and I never do. I told her he's not though. She said I might have been 13 when I met him, but it shouldn't stop me from letting him be the dad who gets to be here for everything. She said as much as she misses dad, she didn't ever want me to deny myself the chance to have one. And I told her I wasn't denying myself anything. Mom got frustrated and left. Then, after we got back from vacation, Mom and James pulled me into a meeting, and James told me how much he'd love to be more to me than James. and how hurtful it was to be rejected as dad, even to strangers who could have easily been led to believe that he was my dad. They said I don't need to always say he's not or that my dad died. I told him I was sorry that my words hurt his feelings, and my mom said that wasn't a good apology and that it didn't sound like I was sorry I said those things. I said no because James isn't my dad, and I never got to meet Dad. Ever since that afternoon, Mom's talked to me about it 5 different times, and James mopes whenever I'm around. Mom said it really is hurtful to him. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. At the end of the day, he is not your father. Period. You met him when you were 13, old enough to know that he's not your father, and he didn't really play a fatherly role in your life. He married your mom. He had no part in you. That's a stepdad. You are allowed to feel the way you feel. As adults, your mom is failing you. This, if he had gotten with a mom when OP was 1 to 3 years old, I could see why he would be hurt. Because at that point, he would have been raising her for over 15 years and a much more significant impact on her life. But he has only been around a few years. Not calling him dad is incredibly valid. For 13 years, you and your mom both celebrated your father as your father. You've only known James for 4 years. Just because he's present doesn't automatically make him your dad. He may care for you like a dad, but if you don't feel that he's your dad, there's no amount of pushing and guilt that's going to make you change your feelings. On the contrary, all they're doing is pushing you away from both of them. You are going to start, if you haven't already, resenting James's insistence. Your mother also needs to realize that resentment is going to spread to her as well. Unfortunately, I see this as a long-term battle for you. If you get married, there's going to be insistence that James be father of the bride. If you have children, there's going to be insistence that James be grandpa. You might want to remind your mother that you have less than a year before you are 18. Does she want to put a wall up for the future? Not the a-hole. That's going to be so awkward if they think James is going to walk me down the aisle if I ever get married. He's not even a consideration for people I'd maybe ask if I even walked with someone else.